Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 91 of the Xbox Hall of Gamers podcast. This week, I'm joined by Char.
Hi.
And our good friend and returning guest, Mr. Jake himself.
Hello.
This week, we're going to be talking about a little bit of news. There's some stuff about Baldur's Gate, which is the game that just keeps on giving at the moment. There's also a little bit of news around game preservation. As with the Xbox store closing, and some somewhat surprising news in the ongoing CMA Activision acquisition saga that just will not end. But first, let's have a bit of a chat with our good friend Jake here. How you been doing, mate?
Good, very good, very busy.
Yeah, it's been a little bit since we've had you on the show. Have what have you been up to?
In regards to my, do you want my life story, or do you?
Sure, I mean, why not, right?
In terms of gaming, or
to be fair, this show is so tangentially related to video games at this point that, like, if you happen to mention a video game in this segment, I'll be fucking amazed.
Yeah. Gosh, what happened the last time I was on? The last time I was on, I was still in school. I'm pretty much done with that. I have a class left, but I moved. Got a full-time job, which has been, I've had to balance life and games a little bit better. Life, games, and other hobbies, I should say, a little bit better. I used to stream a lot. I stream almost not at all now because of life, which is fine. I got a PlayStation 5 specifically for Final Fantasy 16.
Oof.
And that took up most of my summer. Final Fantasy 16.
I know that's a sacrilege, but I do understand that.
Yeah, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. It was something I knew I wanted eventually and was going to get eventually. And then Final Fantasy 16 came out, and I think I made it a week after the game came out before walking into Walmart for something else and saying, if there's a PlayStation 5 on the shelf, I'm buying it. And there was one sitting there, so I bought it.
That's divine, right? Like, you can't, that's the universe putting that in front of you.
It's a sign.
Exactly. Yeah. So, that's, I guess, for the most part, in a broad perspective, what I've been up to, what's new with me, what's life like with me. Still on Xbox, of course, forever and always, but now I just have a PlayStation 5.
Oh, absolutely. I also want you to talk about the Where's the Reptile competition.
I'd love to talk.
I'd love to talk about AHA and what's been going on there, because there's I've been loving it.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I fully plan to bring that up because I know usually towards the end of the podcast, you're like, "Where can you find me? What do you do?" and stuff like that. And I was but I will bring it up now. I'll talk about it now. So if you don't know, I run a Discord community, very adjacent to Hall of Gamers. We're very close, very good buddy, and I completely ripped Neo off. The wonderful trivia questions in the Discord, the Hall of Gamers Discord, the word challenge, I should say. I asked Neo's permission. He said it was cool, but I decided to create something very similar like that in my Discord called Where's Reptar, because my gamer tag is Reptar Ice 3000. And what I do is I Photoshop a little Reptar picture into any video game. So it's just one picture from a video game. It's super zoomed in, and you have to tell me where Reptar is. And every 2 days now, it's a week. Every week I post 3 images on 3 different difficulties: easy, medium, and hard. Sometimes there's a bonus, but the core is there's 3 images: easy, medium, hard, zoomed in, and every 2 days it zooms out a little bit more. So you get more information to guess the game. And sometimes if I'm feeling up for it and can find it easily enough, there's a bonus if you can tell me the location within the game that the image is. And sometimes if I'm feeling frisky, I make a theme and you can get a bonus point. It's a competition, kind of a very friendly competition. I keep it loose. It's not super tight. Very casual. I slip up and post things inconsistently because life is busy and people do something and I fuck up and let them change their answers around. And so it's very in the spirit of fun more than anything.
It's a very much a community challenge.
Yeah, exactly. It goes over the course of 3 months, and whoever has the most points at the end of those 3 months is the winner and gets like a little gift card. Like nothing crazy. Neo destroyed the first one by a wide margin. We did a little 2-month trial period, and it went very well. I think people really liked it, but there was a lot of learning for me. Like it took a few weeks before I realized what easy, medium, and hard needs to be. Because the first day of the competition, this was supposed to be 3 games over a month. And I shortened it to a week because everyone had all the games in their locations guessed within like 2 hours of me posting them. Maybe 3.
It was very impressive.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, this needs to be week long for sure. And I need to make the harders harder. And then there was like a weird thing where like sometimes the hard was easier than the easy. And I'm like, okay, I need to figure out like a rhythm here, a method to really balance this out. So it's been a learning experience, and we changed it up a little bit. The first competition was games and locations necessary, and then to give myself more freedom of what games to choose, because some games don't have like very descriptive location names. So I decided we're going to do just game, and then if I can find the location, it's just a little extra bonus point tacked on.
Cool.
In this period, Valak is the one crushing. So
yeah,
and that's because Neo decided to go to the States for
exactly. I was busy. I was busy for a month, and I came back, and it was just a fucking wasteland. So no, I really enjoyed the competition. Like you said, it was very nice of you to ask permission to do a similar challenge to the word challenge. But I'm really happy to take part in it, because that's the one thing about the word challenge that I love, is that like I love all the interesting guesses and the thinking and the strategizing that goes into it. But obviously I know the answer, so I can't participate.
You can't join in.
So yeah, I'm really enjoying the Where's Reptar challenge. I also like the creativity of you photoshopping Reptar in and also photoshopping things out of the images to make sure they're not too obvious.
Yes, I do that as well. I forgot to mention that. I do use Photoshop content aware fill very frequently to take anything from logos, HUDs, whole characters out of the image to kind of, if it would be a little too easy with the characters, we adjust the challenge kind of accordingly that way. So
I'm still really mad about that 1 week that you did the easiest game is easy, and there was that symbol, and I reached out to one of my local New Zealand Discords and shared the picture, and everybody was so pissed when they found out what game it was. It was Avatar.
Oh, that's right. That's right, because it was
because they were all like, we were like going X-Files on this freaking symbol, and everyone was like reverse image searching, and like we had these in-depth conversations about it. And because like some of the people in that Discord actually work in the gaming industry, like one of them is a narrative, she does narrative for games, so she was like, I've like shared this with my coworkers, and like no one, like everyone's like, it's Zelda, and when I told them, that was so bad.
When it panned out and you could see fucking, was it a Katara or whatever in the background?
You could see Sokka. Like, it was Sokka in the background.
Yeah, it was Sokka. Exactly, and it was like fucking Avatar burning Earth. Of course,
it was. Yeah, I was like, I gotta get meta with this. I gotta make the notoriously easiest game.
It was.
Has to be meta. Yeah,
that was good, but holy shit! Like you don't know the chaos that caused.
My 2 favorites were also the few days where everyone went insane because I did Gary's mod.
Gary's mod for SpongeBob. Oh my god! So for context, I won that by guessing Gary's mod as a joke. I was not serious. I was like, Gary's mod, because you just made some shit up. And my next guess was going to be Roblox. So.
Amazing.
Which is my second favorite was my Roblox a couple weeks ago, maybe last week. The hard was Roblox, but it was that I don't know if anyone else has seen it, but it's somebody made like a super hyper realistic graphics first person shooter in Roblox.
Oh my god!
And that was the game I did. But of course, Sly is an FPS god, so of course he could spot it out. Like I figured, I'm like, if anyone's gonna get this, like I'm really hoping he's never seen this before. But I feel like if anyone does get it, it's going to be him because I wanted the same thing to happen. I wanted you guys just mauling for an entire week, just guessing Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3.
Yeah, I was like, Fear 1, Fear 2. It's got to be one of these like slightly obscure games, right? And I was like, oh no, it's one of the most popular games of all time.
I said it was, Sly guessed Roblox, and I was working, so I forgot to edit. So another thing I do if the game is guessed correctly, I notify manually. I say, "Yep, that's correct," and then I edit the image to have the game next to it. And I was at work when Sly got it, and I was like, "Yep, you got it," but I forgot to change the image. So the next morning, I woke up to another guess, and I was like, "Oh." I wasn't joking. That is actually
That is Roblox. Yeah, everyone was like,
what?
Everyone thought you were trolling.
Yeah. Everyone was like, are you serious? I'm like, oh, no, yeah, that's actually Roblox.
Oh, Jesus.
So it's good fun. So if you're not in Achievement Hunter Anonymous, here's early shill. The shill before the shill at the end.
The shill when people are still listening. So I figure we'll just get
that's actually
first.
fair.
Join in and participate in Where's Reptar. I'm gonna probably at the end of this period put out a anonymous Google form so people can give me feedback or suggestions completely anonymously, so no one has to feel like they shouldn't say something. But because I want people's feedback. I want to make it better. I want to change things if people are having not as fun a time as they could.
Yeah, and on Xbox Hall of Games, if you don't like the word challenge, you can go fuck yourself. Now, speaking of community, let's get into our community questions. Now, these being sort of similar things that are relatively close to your heart, Reptar, Jake, I wanted to see if you wanted to read these ones out. We've got our first question here from our good friend Isaac, who's actually in the chat for the first time in a long time. So thank you very much, Mr. Logic Dad. He's our question asker extraordinaire.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so Isaac says, hey guys, with the end of the 360 store in a year from now, are there any games or DLC that you'd recommend people pick up on 360? Anything we should avoid? Thanks for the show. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Maybe if you guys spin some stuff out, stuff will come up.
Yeah, I went to TA and just like looked at like the 360 games of things that I've like 5-starred over the years, and just kind of looked at anything in there that's kind of like most of it is backwards compatible. Like I really feel like Microsoft were pretty good about being like things that people actually care about. We need to get across. So it tends to be the smaller stuff that's non-backwards compatible. But
that's what I was trying to think of too, is everything not backwards compatible. Because I'm like, backwards compatible is fine. That's not going anywhere. So let me see. Not backwards compatible. I literally just pulled the TA to look. One I thought of were like the Sonic games, but those have been put in other collections and were delisted a long time ago, like the Sonic the Hedgehog 1, 2, and 3. Anarchy Reigns is not backwards compatible.
No, it's not actually. That's a
Platinum Games. There's a good one. Yeah, that's not BC. It does have a physical copy, but old physical games can be a pain to get. Anarchy Reigns. It's only $20 on the Xbox 360 store, and Platinum Games makes awesome games. So I would recommend that one.
Isaac mentions The Maw. Yeah, like The Maw, I love that game. It was one of Twisted Pixel's early games.
The
fantastic game.
Super good. Yeah, 100%. Oh, Armored Core Verdict Day. Okay.
Yeah.
No, here's 100%. Anyone who has even a slight interest in maybe playing Armored Core Verdict Day, it's the only digital Armored Core still available. 4, 5, For Honor are not digitally available. Verdict Day it's $20 if you want a physical copy of Armored Core Verdict Day. Since the announcement of Armored Core 6, that game goes on eBay for $120 USD.
Wow.
Okay, so digital is the way to go.
There's your PSA. If you have just a tiny interest at all that you might play Armored Core Verdict Day, pick it up before it goes away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at this list, and like the things that weren't made backwards compatible tend to have remasters or re-releases, which is quite nice. I'm seeing like a lot of like Xbox 360 in brackets next to these things because they've had like ports. And
also I can attest that Armored Core Verdict Day is a freaking sick game. I have it on PS3. I bought it back when it was only $15 like a few years ago, and I played it with a buddy, and it's super fun, and it's super fun with a friend. It has online co-op. Armored Core was trying to go. It was in the multiplayer centric era of games, so like they have a big focus on like playing with your friends and like doing online event stuff. But it's very good, and I highly recommend Armored Core. It's a super sick game. You're not going to know what the hell's going on with the story. I don't think people who play Armored Core know what the hell's going on with the story. That's fine. It's a big robot, and you just blow other robots up. What's not to love?
True.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see kind of if depending on how 6 does, which I imagine will do relatively well at least, if that will potentially bring people back to the older games and how that's going to go.
I'm worried that the older games are going to just keep rising, especially the PS3 ones, the PS3 and Xbox 360 ones, because they're not easily emulatable. Because literally, like I said, I bought Armored Core Verdict Day on the PS3 for $15 in 2021, and now it's $120. And all the PS3 and Xbox 360 ones are $100 or over, because of the hype of Armored Core 6. And I don't think that's going to go anywhere because the game, I've looked at some reviews and I've watched some gameplay. It is not flopping. It is not flopping. Everyone is saying, all reviewers are saying very positive things about Armored Core 6.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to play that, aren't I?
Yeah.
Isaac also mentioned there's a thread on TA that mentions that Telltale games have working DLC and some are digital only. So yeah, definitely like the Telltale stuff. Anything that's episodic and has a lot of DLC for it is definitely something you want to be very aware of. I actually, a few years ago, I basically sat down and looked at all my games and all the DLC and just like put like $300 in my account and was just like, I'm just going to buy it all and just like not have to worry about it. Because it's just like the last thing you want is like get to a game, you're like, oh, the DLC's been delisted or whatever. And you're like, well, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I feel like I've been slowly, like, I feel like in the back of my mind, I always knew this would come eventually because, you know, I don't want to say uncharted territory because Nintendo has like been pulling the plug on their online stores with no remorse. It seems like PlayStation tried and everyone pushed back and they decided not to. But it's kind of like uncharted territory where it's like these digital exclusive games now are going away forever, right? When these stores shut down. That's like the retro market. The games weren't manufactured anymore, but they were still there. You could still go if you shield out the money, buy a copy. But
so
there are these
you could find Radiant Silvergun if you really wanted to.
Yeah. But there are these digital exclusive games that digital only games too are weird to emulate. They like use different. They're just different. The file formats are just different, so they're hard to emulate too. So there's these digital games that are just now with these stores going, they're just disappearing. They're just gone, which is a weird thing to navigate. But yeah, I feel like I always knew this was coming. So for the last like probably 10 years, anytime I saw anything on my wish list say sale, I would just go. Like even if I had no intention to play it soon, I would just go pick it up and buy it. So I don't have much left to pick up, which is nice. But yeah. You haven't been doing that. This is a rough time.
Yeah, it's nice that they gave us a year head start on it, but still, like, it's a lot. And to be fair, like a lot of stuff has already been delisted over the years, and things have gone missing, or licenses have been pulled. So like, it's not 100% new, but it's just a lot all at once.
Yeah.
If you were looking for something to pick up that's on the 360 exclusively, I would recommend. I've got 3 games. I would recommend Singularity as an absolutely, absolutely fantastic first person shooter in the sort of BioShock Half-Life style. Has like a gravity gun, has like time travel mechanics and stuff. It's a really good like AA style game that just doesn't get made anymore. And like has like a really interesting, like I really like the narrative for it as well. Majin: The Forsaken Kingdom is another one that's definitely a lesser known 360 title. Is that kind of adventure, Zelda-esque adventure kind of thing where it's you as a little dude and your big dude friend solving puzzles and fighting enemies and stuff. It's relatively straightforward, but it's like actually like surprisingly well made. Again, kind of more in that sort of AA space of games that just don't get made anymore outside of the indie space. And then the last one is Warhammer 40k Space Marine. Sequel is coming out, I think, next year. I think there's some previews going out about it this week. Space Marine is absolutely fantastic. Third-person shooter / melee combat game. With if you have any kind of interest in the 40K universe at all, Space Marine is a fantastic example of that. And also it has DLC. The DLC has like a horde mode in there that's quite challenging. So you definitely want to try and pick up a complete package of that. Highly, highly recommend that.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna solidify a couple recommendations. I'm gonna stick with Anarchy Reigns and for sure Armored Core Riddick Day. More people need to play this series. It's phenomenal. I've been playing the first one on the PS1 to get ready for 6. So those are my two: Anarchy Reigns and Armored Core Riddick Day.
Oh, I was just trying to see if there's anything else in here. I think that's probably. I mean, again, there's so much stuff in here that I'm like, wow, yeah, I remember playing this. I don't know why I rated it so high.
If you're glutton for punishment and you hate yourself and want to be the 14th person to complete it on TA, Cloudberry Kingdom.
Oh God, yeah, you want to talk about a platform that's going to make you throw your controller? That's oh boy, just watching videos in that game gives me anxiety. Like it's unbelievable.
You want to be the lucky 14th person on TA to 100% that game, you can go ahead and pick up Cloudberry.
To be honest, there's probably going to be someone out there that'll want to do that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Another weird one that is, and so if you haven't clued in yet, guys, I am a bit of a video game collector aficionado, and I like collecting retro games. So I know some of these digital games and what their current retail prices are. Crash of the Titans, if you're a fan of the Crash series, $20 digitally. I think a physical of that game goes for 40 or 50 right now.
Wow.
So that one's also a little more expensive side physical. So if you want to get a cheap copy of that game before it goes away digitally, Crash of the Titans would be a good one. I imagine
the sequel Mind of a Mutant is probably in a similar category.
Yeah. I don't know if that one's... Crash Mind of a Mutant. That one's still $40 digitally, which is crazy. I don't know how much that one actually goes for on the secondhand market. I just know Crash the Titans is a little more up there for whatever reason. Yeah, I'm just keeping my eye. I'm mostly looking at this in the light of like, I could look at digital onlys, I guess, but I'm looking at this in the light of this is a deal to get digitally versus secondhand. Because the secondhand video game market is out of control right now.
Yeah, for sure. And for those listening, yes, I know I would ask Charlotte the same question, but she did not join the Xbox gaming space till after the 360. So
yeah, so I don't really have as much knowledge on this. Like I have games that I played, but like not through 360. So
we're not just excluding her to people. You know what I mean?
I was just gonna say I would love to look at this question further. In a scope that's not probably appropriate for a podcast duration, because I do really want to look through that whole list and like figure out.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, hey, like we want to do
a special too.
We want to do a special. 100% down for that. We'll pre-record it and we'll put it out for the patrons.
Yeah. We could. That'd be not a bad idea. Yeah. If I don't know if you guys know, I know you guys know, but if anyone listening doesn't know, a fantastic community member of the Achievement Hunting community, both in my community and he is also in Hall of Gamers. Super Bob made a spreadsheet of all digital, all DLC that is coming, non-backwards DLC that'll be affected. All retail games, all digital only games that are being affected. He made a great spreadsheet. I saved a copy. I know he posted it in my Discord. He probably posted it in Hall of Gamers.
I think it is on Hall of Gamers,
Yeah. So, Super Bob went and made that, which is great. So that's a good resource if you're trying to look out on stuff that's going to go away.
No, for sure. Because it's I mean, no, I always forget that not everyone is like me and has played and bought every game under the sun. That there are some people have different histories with especially with the 360 generation, where there were so many games on the 360 that like.
And there's people that, like Char, who didn't get into the space, who maybe needs to go look at some games to pick up before they go away. Like,
yeah. Like I'm sort of just keeping an eye on it because I sort of play things from what Matt has played. So
Yeah, fair.
recommendations usually come from there, and then there's so much on Game Pass. It's really hard to sort of see, but like with it going, it's definitely something I'm thinking about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Do you want to read that second question there, Jake?
Yeah, absolutely. So the second question from Legacy, it's all in all caps. So I didn't know if that was a game. Is that
Yeah,
the
that's
there.
he's in all caps apparently.
Okay, great. I was just like, does that mean because Legacy is also just a normal?
It's just a word, yeah. But he's also like that's my name, but it's also capital. So make sure.
Yeah, so I'm just like, what does this mean? Anyway, so Legacy says, so I recently found all my original Xbox games, which I haven't seen for over 10 years, and I've came across of a few classics like Simpsons Hit and Run, Need for Speed Underground 2, and Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. So I was wondering, what original Xbox game would you like to see remastered or made in the future? Which is a great question. I like this question a lot. I could talk about outside of the scope of Xbox what I think needs to be forever too. But Xbox, I mean, do you want me to just read it looks like those are games.
Yeah, we have a few
suggestions.
People in the suggestions in the community.
Yeah. Aftos said the Buffy game, which would be not a bad one. I've actually heard that game has like a cult following. From what I know, and that game is also another one that's like absorbently expensive to pick up a copy of. It's like a couple $100 for the Buffy game for some godforsaken reason. Like I said, cult following. So yeah, that's a good one. Natolinator. I'm sorry for booking Burnout 3 and Need for Speed Underground 2. Those are both a hard yes. 100%. Shane or Firehawk said Breakdown. I've never heard of that game.
It rings a bell, and I actually need to look it up.
I'll look it up too, because I did a deep dive of every game on every console a couple years ago.
I remember this.
I made a big spreadsheet of games I wanted, so I looked at like everything.
I remember seeing this. This was like a classic one of these boxes that you'd see at like the rental store that you'd just be like, what the hell is this game?
Oh.
Guy with a big red fist going around punching things.
Yeah, it's giving God Hand.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah. Well, but where God Hand was good, this does not look good.
Yeah, God Hand is a cult classic masterpiece, and Breakdown looks it looks like a Shane game. That's
valid point.
Very accurate.
Yeah, 100%. And Hammered said Spider-Man and Simpsons Hit and Run as well. Simpsons Hit and Run, I think, is a game everyone's been screaming for a remake of for as long as that game went out of generation, essentially. Like since the 360 era, everyone's been like, let's remake Hit and Run. Spider-Man, which Spider-Man? Are you talking about like the Spider-Man 1 PS2 Xbox GameCube?
Yeah, I think so. Well, either that or Spider-Man 2, which is the one where they really got the swinging mechanics in open world.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man, that was where the game really caught its stride. Spider-Man 2 I have a lot of fond memories of, but I had the first one as well, and I thought it was really good. It was just more like level-based.
It was like level-based, and like there was that weird, there was the weird fog on the ground, so you couldn't go too low, otherwise you would die.
And the narrator, they're in the tutorial level. I don't know, because I was a kid when that game came out, like a young lad. It was one of the first games I got from a GameCube. I actually won my GameCube from a school competition, and the three games we got were Spider-Man, Wave Race, and Sonic Adventure 2000.
Cool.
Wow.
But I was a child, so I didn't get very far in Spider-Man, aside from the first like 3 levels, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a kid and you have 3 video games, what do? You don't care how far you get. You just keep replaying as far as you can get, over and over and over and over. So the tutorial narrator lives in my head rent-free all the time. The one-liners he says.
Did they get Bruce Campbell for that?
It might have been.
Because I know from like the original PlayStation 1 games that they had Bruce Campbell do the like way back in the Spider-Man days when it was more based on the comics before there was like before they did the movies and stuff, and they were just like Spider-Man's kind of cool, let's make him into a video game, and so they got Bruce Campbell doing all the jokes. Anytime
I see even the newest Spider-Man games, the Marvel Spider-Man's on PlayStation, where Spider-Man swings and the web goes straight into the sky, I think of the line where the narrator said like, when you can swing your web on anything, but make sure there's something above you or else we'll all point and laugh at you. Yeah. And that specific line comes to mind constantly to this day. It's been 22 years since I played that game, and it comes up into my head at least a few times a year. Like,
Amazing.
I don't know what it is about that one, that tutorial level of Spider-Man 1 on the GameCube. Still to this day. But
yeah, it's funny actually, because I was thinking about like how, Cameron just said Spider-Man, but like there've been a lot of Spider-Man games, but a lot of them are, they're on the 360 or earlier, and we just, they never got ported, and we've never seen remasters.
Yeah. So I think those are all great contenders, aside from Breakdown maybe is. I've never heard of it or played it. I love retro jank. I love me some retro jank. I say I have a high tolerance for some stupid retro jank. So I guess, what about you guys? What are some not in that list that you would love to see remade? I got a couple of mine.
Yeah. Charlotte, do you have anything that sort of comes to mind from...
We talked about this 2 weeks ago. And Commander Keen.
Yeah.
Like, that's top of my list for me. Like, that is nostalgia 101 for me.
Sure.
I have games, but they're like not Xbox exactly. Like Alex the Kid, I would love to see that, but like, again.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Like,
it's just things that honestly, like I grew up with. Like,
honestly, of this list that the community gave, I think the only one that's an Xbox game is Breakdown. Burnout 3 was a multi-console.
Yeah, most of them multi-platform.
But so like, I wouldn't be too worried about making sure you stay true to Xbox. I think that I love this conversation or this question, but I love this question in a broad sense. There's so many games that deserve great remakes. I will touch on a couple of Xbox games specifically, but I want to talk about some. So.
Yeah, I think the two that come to mind for me, and I put these in the Discord as well. Discord.io, well, not .io anymore.
It's changed .gg, but it's
I can't even pronounce
it.
You'll find our Discord. We'll sort it out for you, because now the link isn't fun anymore to say, because Discord.io got hacked. So yeah, I put in the channel Crimson Skies, which is the classic answer when everyone talks about the original Xbox and being like games that people should play. It's that it's that arcadey flight sim, turn of the century, it's like, it's the 1910s, and racism isn't a big deal, don't worry about it. And it's so like that game is like fantastic, and it kind of like that Panzer Dragoon also kind of fits in there as well. And then the other one is Republic Commando. Actually, there's quite a few like licensed Star Wars games that kind of that era had quite a few of those. Like you had like the Obi-Wan game, you had Republic Commando, you had the Clone Wars game. Like Star Wars was on a tear because obviously they brought out the prequel trilogy. It was doing really well for them, and they were just merchandising the hell out of it. And so game makers were getting in on it. And so it would be great to see like some of that licensed stuff. I think that like Simpsons Hit and Run is another great example of like licensed games. Like the reason they don't get remade is because redoing those agreements would be a legal nightmare. But there's so much, like most licensed games are bad by majority, but like there's still a lot of really cool ideas and a lot of cool stories to be told in those things that you just don't see anymore.
Yeah. Any non-Xbox games you think you'd want to see remade?
Yeah, I mean, like I have a big history of the PlayStation 2 was kind of, where I got really big into video games. I know it got a re-release on PlayStation, but I would love to see Dark Cloud and Dark Chronicle or Dark Cloud 2. Like Level 5's early games. Actually, pretty much all of Level 5's catalog actually would be fantastic. I love Ni no Kuni, and they do fantastic work. But they had a long history before that of making great games. But unfortunately mostly for the PlayStation. And it was kind of that era, right, where I remember when, like, the reason I'm kind of mentioning PlayStation games is because, we saw that era of when Final Fantasy 13 was coming out. They're like, oh, it's coming to Xbox. And everyone lost their fucking mind because they were like, what, a Final Fantasy on an Xbox system?
Why do you think I was so heartbroken that after all these years of trying to get all these Final Fantasy games on Xbox 16?
Yeah, exactly.
Back to PlayStation.
They go back. Yeah.
Killed me. That was the worst part. Is they gave it to us and then they took it away.
Yeah.
Like if they would have just never took it away and it would have just always stayed a PlayStation exclusive, I would have been like, whatever. I gotta have a PlayStation to play Final Fantasy.
But they gave us hope.
Yeah, exactly. They were like 13, all three of the 13 games, 15, Crisis Core, and other bits and pieces, and they were like, and now 14. But apparently 16 is just a step too far.
Maybe 16 one day. Like
I get the feeling, like with the agreements with Square Enix, I get the feeling they're going to work something out at some stage. But I'm sure, like, because we haven't seen the 7 remakes either.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, last I heard about the 7 remakes, not to get into another discussion to derail, but last I heard that was only a time exclusive for a year. And then Square just decided to not because they were buddy with Sony. But so maybe now that the relations are getting tighter with Microsoft and Sony and Square, maybe we'll start seeing like the remake,
maybe
7 remakes, maybe 16.
I saw some talk on it. Was like, oh, it was going to be a year, and then Sony extended the exclusivity, and then they were like, oh, actually, you have to wait till all of them are out, or we're waiting till like because they're doing the extra additional content version of the old one for the new. I don't know if there's. And then they also did those remasters of the old like first 6 games or whatever.
Yeah, pixel remasters.
Yeah, which they didn't bring to Xbox either. So
I want those on Xbox. I want you know what I want on Xbox from Final Fantasy? I want Theatrhythm. I want Final Fantasy Theatrhythm on Xbox so bad.
Yeah, Final Fantasy music is amazing.
Yeah.
I mentioned it on a podcast a few weeks ago, but like I just was like, oh, it's been a while since I've seen the Square Enix logo show up on an Xbox game, and I realized they have not published a game on the Xbox since December last year.
Yeah.
So they have not put out a game in 2023 on the Xbox.
Yeah. Sony went real hard on trying to get them off Xbox, but like I remember there was a couple months where Game Pass, it was just everything being dropped with just Square Enix games.
Yeah.
Square Enix games. It was just like Jesus, and then shortly after it was just like, yeah, we're not gonna put our games on Xbox for the foreseeable future. It's like, oh, okay, great. Anyway, sorry, not to get derailed. If you had more games you would love to see a remake of.
I'm trying to think, because like I have a heavy history of the PlayStation 2, but like most of the stuff's like like
it's already got remakes.
A lot of them got remade,
Crash and Spyro. So like
like Spyro is the classic example of like a trilogy that was so near and dear to my heart originally on the PlayStation. One of the reasons I got into gaming and playing the Reignited trilogy was incredible. Like they pretty much nailed it. There's a couple of squiffy things around the corner.
In saying that though, a new Spyro game.
There is a rumor. There is a rumor that Activision might be working on something. So
I mean, I would play the hell out of that.
That'd be huge.
Like a new Spyro, not like remake, because we've got the remakes. That's all good.
They did a new Crash. It only makes sense that they did a new Spyro.
Also, like I said last time, Crash 4, It's About Time is maybe the most perfect title I've ever heard of for a video game.
Yeah, that's a really... I love like self-aware stuff like that.
It works on so many levels. Isaac points out in the chat, Jake saying not to derail, asks if you've actually listened to the show ever, which is that's a very, very fair point. That's pretty much how this show goes.
We go on tangents all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, any other suggestions from you guys?
I've got a list. Yeah, I've got some
it.
deep cuts that people are going to be like, what the hell? I'll start with the obvious ones. This is my Xbox. This is my not Xbox necessarily exclusive, but these are the Xbox games I'd love to see remade. I would love to see Oddworld: Stranger's Wrath, a true remake, not like just the PS4 port that they have.
Yeah.
So there's one. I would love to see Otogi. Was a fun Xbox Japanese hack and slash that was only exclusive to the Xbox. I'd love to see that remade. The Blinks games, I think would be cool ones.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Jet Set Radio Future.
I mean, yeah.
Even 100%. Though we just got the kind of
spiritual
successor with that. Here's a weird one that I'm going to throw out. But I would love to see full proprietary controller in all. I would love to see Steel Battalion.
I knew you were going to say that. Unfortunately, the internet has ruined me. And I again, you talk about deep cuts. This is going to be. I'm going to talk about a meme here. So bear with me.
Okay.
I remember there was a green text 4chan post that someone had screenshotted that was someone talking about Steel Battalion being like, how the fuck do you use this thing? It's got like things and like these pedal things. And like the guy was trying to figure out, and he drew like a picture of himself being like hunched over, curled over with like squatting on it or whatever. And then someone was just like, you can just put the joystick part on a desk and the pedals underneath like a car, right? And it's just like it's just him just being like, oh yeah, no. My
That
first
would
thought
make
was
more
completely
sense.
just to like turn myself into a fucking animal.
Yeah.
And just
For those listening, if you've never heard of Steel Battalion, if you don't know what it is an Xbox exclusive Capcom published mech game that came with like a DJ Hero, Guitar Hero style proprietary controller that was like 4 or 5 pedals, foot pedals, and like a 3 modular section long mech control panel for you. You had like 2 joysticks and buttons all over more buttons than you think an Xbox could like take as inputs, right? It was super intense. You can go buy it for like $400 still, which I think is a steal, honestly, for like that kind of game. And I miss cool games like that had like proprietary equipment that came with it. You don't really see that much anymore. And I think a Steel Battalion remake, true to form, with the controller setup would be so sick.
Not the Kinect one.
Not the Kinect one.
Not the Kinect one. Because that game was rough.
Yeah, I forgot that they released a Steel Battalion on the 360 for Kinect. Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the original Xbox original exclusive, Steel Battalion. Yeah. So those are my Xbox lists. I could go on. There's more I'd love to see, like on Valkyrie. Or like,
oh yeah,
like you said, the Star Wars games. Like, I don't think like PGR needs a remake, but Oddworld Munch's Odyssey could be cool. Like, there's you could go on and on.
Yeah, there's so many.
I forgot about this one too. One more from that era, not necessarily exclusive, but Thrillville. I'd love to see Thrillville come back. I thought Thrillville was the superior amusement park sim, Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Because they had one on the 360, right? Thrillville Off the Rails, I think, and that was pretty much it. Yeah.
That game was sick. That was like Roller Coaster Tycoon. You built your amusement park, you rode your rides, but you walked around the amusement park and talked to guests and had like friendship meters with them. And every arcade game, every small game you could put in your park was an actual like full scale arcade game that you could play.
Oh, that's so cool.
There were like 40 or 50 of them. It was it was such a sick game. And I had it on the PSP and it wasn't voice acted, but I also rented it on the PS2 and it was fully voice acted. Every interaction you had with amusement park guests was fully voice acted. And they'd send you on little quests. They'd say like, I want a stuffed bear, like I'd want this or that. And Thrillville is a super underrated game that everyone should check out. And both of them are available on the Xbox, the new consoles, the Series X and the Xbox One via the backwards compatibility. I think they gave away Thrillville as a Games with Gold, which I'm stoked about. I've still been meaning to go play that, but yeah, Thrillville and Thrillville Off the Rails are sick games. So that's just that generation. For non-Xbox generation, because I feel like I took a while on that, I only have one game that I would like a remake of. This is the game that I've been saying forever that deserves a remake because it's so important to the franchise, but no one has played it because it's really hard to. It doesn't have much accessibility and it's very difficult. I'm a huge Metal Gear Solid fan.
Oh yes.
So I would love a from the ground remake or rebuild or whatever you want to call it of the MSX Metal Gear 1.
Yeah.
Because they're super important to the story. They're so crucial. They're not like little things you can just throw aside to understand the whole Metal Gear Solid story. But nobody's played them. And I don't blame them because they're impossible to play.
It's the kind of thing where someone's like, oh, hey, I want to learn about Metal Gear story and kind of get like into like, should I start with Metal Gear Solid? I'm like, gameplay wise, yes, play Twin Snakes or something. But go and watch Metal Gear 1 and 2 on YouTube just to get an idea of like what happens. Because
that's what I did. I watched
so hard to play.
The Metal Gear 1 and 2 like cutscene movie basically on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's how I figured it all out. I watched it. It was a couple hours long. But yeah, no, those games should be remade because of their importance to this. Like they're just super great. They're key moments to the entire saga.
For sure.
So that is my one demand, the one game above all that I would love to see remade. Metal Gear 1 and 2 on the MSX.
I think I had one. Yeah, Metal Gear's a good show. I was thinking, was it Wild Arms Glitch in the System is one of those like really well-made PS2 era games, like AA development, like small team, really, really hard, but really, really cool kind of games. It just does not get a lot of popularity, but has a bit of a cult following. I think will do really well, really, really well in this kind of day and age. And then there's the one that I will bang the drum for every time, is the entire Legacy of Kain series. They just need to bring that back. They have to, it is only getting more and more difficult to play that.
Did I ever tell you? I don't know if I've told you. I tell this to a few people, but I actually have a copy of Two Humans signed by Dennis Dyack.
Yes.
Wow.
It's amazing. Oh my god. Oh god. Yeah, Two Human was an absolute nightmare of a video game. But Dennis Dyack was like, hey, this is the beginning of our Mass Effect trilogy. Like, this is going to be our thing. Like, we're going to... And everyone was like, this is one of the worst games I've ever played.
I truly liked it at the time, but playing it like in the last few years, it's absolutely atrocious. But yeah, there it is. Dennis probably can't really see that well, but
it's very wide, but yeah, kind of.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That is
really his last hurrah, signed by the lead developer of the game director.
A game that they give away for free now because they lost the lawsuit. So
yeah, exactly. I didn't know all the history behind it when I had him sign it, and I just remember going up and asking him, "Can you sign this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'd love to sign it for you." And he's like, "I really loved this game," and he literally just kind of sighed, and I was like,
"Oh,
I do too." And I'm like, now I'm looking back.
Oh, yeah, it's brutal. That's pretty brutal.
I'm like, oh no, this guy got sued to shit for this game. He got his career dragged through the mud for this game.
Yeah.
Crap, I didn't know that.
Well.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yes, but yeah, Silicon Knights who made and Crystal Dynamics with Legacy of Kain would be amazing because there's like 5 games in that series. One of them is a top-down Diablo style game. Two of them are on the PS2. One was on the Dreamcast. One was they're just all over the place, and it's been so long. Like Soul Reaver 2 was one of those games that like got me into narrative in video games because there were so many fucking cutscenes in that game where I was like, oh, I'm just watching like a fantasy story here, a really dark one with time travel and kind of demons and vampires. Yeah. I could wax poet seriously, like I could do a 3-hour spoiler cast on just Legacy of Kain. Easy. I love that shit. And yeah, so but there were rumors that they've done some surveys around like if they're going to do a new series or a remaster or something. So
I have a little insider information. This is from probably 10 years ago now at this point, though. No, a little less than 10 years ago, because I got that signature because he came to my school and did a press conference and everything. And you talking about this made me, I forgot Silicon Knights made Eternal Darkness too.
Yes.
I don't know what's happening with this or if it still is happening, but when he came to our school, he was talking about a project he was working on that was basically like half remake, half spiritual successor to Eternal Darkness. And he showed us footage, like he showed trailers and footage to it and everything. And it looked pretty far along. Cool. This was probably 2015 and there's still been nothing about it. So I don't know if it's still in the pipeline or not. But Silicon Knights, maybe you heard it here first, could be working on a remake / spiritual successor to Eternal Darkness.
That's another amazing pick for that era of just games that just did weird shit.
Yeah.
And then Isaac in the chat points out Rad Robot Alchemic Drive for the PlayStation 2 was a cult classic. Great game. Love to see another one. Yeah, 100%. Like I think the PlayStation 2 is so rich with those games because it was that era of when you could make a video game for less than a couple of $1 million and actually it could you sell a couple 100,000 and like you're good. Like you didn't have to do gangbusters and have a huge marketing budget, and you could, the competition wasn't so fierce and you didn't have digital to worry about. And we just got a lot of like really good, like middle of the road kind of 7 out of 10 games that people just really enjoy.
Yeah.
It's my favorite console generation.
I thought of 2 more as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So I thought of Sly Cooper.
Oh, yeah. I would love
to
play
about
those
it.
games again.
They talked about doing a new game for PS5, but that was back in 2021.
Yeah, that was Sucker Punch, right? Because they're now doing, they did Ghost of Tsushima and kind of just moved on from that, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but,
like Sly Cooper would be great. And this one's a real throwback. Parappa Rapper the Rapper.
Oh my god, yes. Chop Chop Master Onion. That'd be so good.
Yeah.
That I would 100% play. Like, that is
Yeah.
so funny. That's like childhood. Yeah.
That'd be great. Everyone would go nuts for a Parappa the Rapper remake too.
100%,
Like,
yeah.
it would hit all the old heads who like played it and are retro with it, and it would hit all the young audience who've never seen it before, just because like the meme. Everyone knows Parappa.
Yeah, the memes from it
Everyone
too.
would need to pick up that game. It'd be a hit. Huge hit for sure.
It would definitely go viral streaming for sure. That would be, you'd see it on fucking everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, fantastic question, Legacy. Thank you very much for sharing. And thank you, Isaac, for the previous question as well. It's generated some great discussion. Keep asking.
We love the questions.
Absolutely, yeah.
And reason, did you want me to still go into why you had me read those questions off?
Yeah,
Yes.
actually, yeah. Well, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, was about like preservation in general, because we recently had a story around Phil Spencer kind of talking a little bit about that.
Yeah. So if you've clued in yet, I'm a huge, like I think I already said it once, but I'm a huge retro nerd, huge retro collector. And when it comes to retro video game, I'm a huge advocate for video game preservation. The medium as a whole is terribly preserved. And these questions are both they just tie into that so well. What, like, the store's going away, what should I get before it's gone forever? Bad preservation practices. And game remakes is like also a huge thing in preservation. But there's a lot of the video game Historical Society did a huge study that Gerard the Completionist on YouTube. If you've never seen him, you're an achievement hunter and what are you doing? Go check out Gerard the Completionist. He's fantastic. He makes great videos around 100% in games, whether that's platinum them, getting all the achievements or whatever. He made a video with them talking about like the kind of crisis of video game preservation. Less than or a little over 10% of all classic video games are commercially available, which is like something you don't see in any other medium. Like books, movies, even television, like they release the seasons on DVD and they sell them. You can still go buy like I Love Lucy season box set, the show from the 50s or 60s or whenever the hell I Love Lucy came out. Like you can, there's all these shows are so well preserved, but video games just aren't treated the same way at all for some reason. So the Video Game Historical Foundation is doing a lot of work to try to get like games put in libraries, basically like specific video game libraries, and then have them in also like public libraries, and like just like how books and movies are usually digitally accessible in libraries, they want to try to make video games digitally accessible in libraries, build up infrastructure for that. But there's a lot of like legal battle because I don't remember the exact name of the organization, but basically like an electronic medium organization fights tooth and nail to keep copyright laws, to keep that from happening. Because in their mind, if people can play games from libraries, people won't buy video games anymore. Right.
In the same way that as libraries have existed forever, no one's ever bought a book before.
Exactly, right? That's like if you don't think about it, like that's a point that if you don't think about it, oh yeah, okay, it makes sense. People are playing video games for free. But then if you just give it an ounce of thought at all, it's like libraries didn't kill the book industry. They didn't kill the movie industry. They didn't kill like all these other industries that you can access through a library.
Yeah.
And they basically, these organizations have been lobbying to like say, no, we're fine. We don't need any restraint on copyright laws to allow preservation to be easier. And that's what the Video Game Historical Society or Foundation is kind of fighting against. They're trying to get exceptions to copyright law to be like, this is research purpose, this is preservation purposes and stuff like that. So that, again, 83 or 87% of all classic games, this is from 2010 to the beginning of video games, can be accessible to anyone. Because they're not. And that's a crazy number. Like you try to actually look, when you look at it, at first, it kind of looks like, oh, it's not so bad. We get all these remakes, we get all these collections, all these ports. Like the Sega Mega Collection of 200 games comes out. It feels like every other year. But then you actually, if you actually look at the numbers and the data and the science, which is what the Video Game Historical Society or Foundation does. I keep trying to say society, but it's Video Game Historical Foundation. What they decided that it was time to actually like get data and evidence and numbers to actually start fighting like the terrible preservation habits of the video game industry, which again, like I said, it's like no other entertainment medium or artistic medium. Like the preservation is abysmal. So
it's amazing from both a like commercially available, but also like retaining of assets and source code, right? Like how many times have we heard, we had to remake this game from the ground up or from like partially recovered code because no one preserved any of the stuff that we used to make it.
Or worse, where you hear, no, we can't re-release this game because we lost the source code. Like same argument, same reason, but they're just like, now it's just gone forever. Sorry. Like
I'm remembering like I played Grim Fandango recently, right? And it's like I remember them talking about remaking the game. They're like, it's a partial build that they had because they didn't retain the whole thing, and so they had to kind of patch together with what they had. And fair play, it works relatively well, but like like you get like a Silent Hill 2 and 3 HD remaster situation where it's like they had to like partially rebuild it from some of the stuff that they had because they lost the original source code, and it looks like shit.
And that's just Frankenstein at that point.
Yeah, and like it doesn't work well. It looks bad. They've done all kinds of terrible stuff to try and make it work, and it's like, that was
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. That was a point that the Video Game Historical Foundation makes. I think at a game development conference, they were talking about like ports and remakes and stuff like that, and how like those are great additions. They're great, like I can't think of the word right now, but they're not preservation.
Yeah,
a port is inherently a derivative work. It's gonna be different. It's gonna have different bugs. It's gonna have flaws. It has to have changes to work. So a port isn't good enough to be called preservation because it just inherently is derivative. So go check out the completionist video. It is titled "Companies Don't Want You Playing Classic Games" on the Completionist YouTube channel. Check out the Video Game Historical Foundation and their study on that. It's a 51-page study. I pulled up the findings for it here. All historical video games less than 13.27% are commercially available. Commodore 60, they pulled out some of like the jarring ones, like the Commodore 64, which, whatever. Video game preservation is important, even if it's the Commodore 64. Only 4.5% of those games are available. Of the Game Boy family, this is Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. I think those are the only three. Only 5.87% of all of those games are commercially available. Only 5% of the entire Game Boy library, from the Game Boy to the Game Boy Advance, is available. And of the PlayStation 2, only 12% of all PlayStation 2 games are commercially available.
Yeah, which is insane because like some of those libraries are huge. And if you look through the list that they looked at, like, there's a lot of licensed stuff in there and, there's a lot of quote unquote trash, but like, that's not the quality of the games is not the point here. Right. Like, I think that the fact that preservation needs to be a thing in general, like, libraries don't pass judgment on what a good book is for the most part. Right. Like you preserve the literature, even if it's trash or doesn't have merit.
Yeah. 100%. A lot of indie companies are starting to make their own libraries with their games and their own digital archives. Some developers, even some big developers, they're probably not like, I don't know, supposed to do this maybe, but the developers of Dirt 1, 2, and 3, when their games were pulled from all digital markets, they literally uploaded the ISOs to Internet Archive themselves. It wasn't like some random guy just dumped a ROM or an ISO. It was the company. They're like, well, we can't commercially sell this anymore, but we don't want our work to just go poof. So they're making their own efforts to preserve the games, which is great. I think more developers and more publishers need to follow suit. I think there's a lot of work to do, but I think it's not all bleak. I think that enough people are aware of the fight that we will eventually have like actual proper good video game preservation. which is great. Great news. Yeah. But yeah, look into it. Be a voice in it. It's important. I hope the news of the 360 store closing forever is making more people aware of like the issues of game preservation, because it's important for all of our hobbies for sure.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into the news. Char, do you want to take this first one?
Yeah. Mainly because this one's really interesting to me. So our first piece of news is Baldur's Gate 3 coming to Xbox this year without split screen on Series S. So that's the latest, is that we are going to get it this year. Finally. Yeah. It's not going to be waiting till next year or anything like that, which is kind of great. But they have said that to do that, split screen will be on Series X only. Yeah. What do we think? What are our thoughts?
I honestly, it sucks for people who only have a Series S, but what my takeaway from that is that I thought the Series S was what was quote unquote holding games back. That's what like especially PlayStation fanboys love to say. So my takeaway from this is, they can actually make different versions for the same console family, the Series XS family. So that's what I'm actually looking at that in more of a positive light. For me, it's like, okay, they can make a beefier Series X version and keep it still all on the Xbox family. So the Series S, in theory, isn't holding anything back, which is so it's great news to me. That's how I'm reading this.
Yeah, I think that I kind of have a similar thought. I think it's good news. I mean, I think it's good news that we're getting Baldur's Gate 3 this year because, like, look, one of the things that Phil has always said is that they want to have parity between the two consoles. They don't want to have games coming out on consoles that don't match. Like, they don't want like Series X exclusive games versus
Yeah.
And I kind of makes sense. But Phil does bring up the point that, there's always been differences between the X and X versions of games with things like ray tracing and graphical fidelity and kind of frame rates and things like that, right? And this is the first time it's had a feature that's not going to be available. This kind of also brings up the point of like, okay, now that they've done this, does this open the floodgates? Is this a thing where developers go say, now actually I want to have features that we run on one of them? Or is this because Larian called up Microsoft called them up, but like, hey, we need to get the game of the year on our console this year. What do we need to do to make that happen? Is this like a one-off exception where they're like, hey, like fuck the rules in this case, we'll bend them for this, but for everything else it needs to stay the same? I don't know.
Yeah, it's also interesting as well because like I have friends that are already playing it, right? Because they're all PC, and the newest thing is that there's an update now that's just come out, and that's on top of the 150 gigs to install, and it's even a sizable, like it's a few, like I think she said it was between 10 and 20 gigs more just for this extra update, right? So my then question is like, I have my Series X, which is great because it's got the 1 terabyte, cool, but I have like 80% filled my Xbox with games. So if I want to put Baldur's Gate 3 on, I'm going to have to like pull that right back just to be able to install it because it's such a sizable game. So thinking about that, like what is I don't know off the top of my head what the size is for the Series S. Is that that's not going to be...
It's 500 gigs.
It's half, right?
They're releasing the new terabyte model this holiday season.
Yeah. But it's still half the size. So it kind of makes sense to not have the same. I don't know if it'll be like similar size-wise, right? But like surely it'll then be a bit more compatible with like if people have that smaller hard drive on their Series S. Because it's not a small game. It's huge.
No, which is another problem to talk about. It's like video game sizes.
Video game sizes and the lack of compression. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god. I mean, Baldur's Gate's a giant game. So if there's any game to be 200 gigabytes, it's probably Baldur's Gate 3. But yeah, that's an interesting point. I didn't think about the size. Like if you if you want to play the Series S version of Baldur's Gate 3, to even take into consideration the size of the Series S. In terms of, I mean, I don't even think the Series S is 500 gigs. I don't even think the Series X being a terabyte is enough with how games have been coming out lately.
I've already been talking about it. I need to like get an external drive just to be able to play half my games lately. Like,
I have a 5 terabyte hard drive that I don't play games off of, but I keep installed because it's infinitely faster to move them off of it onto the Xbox and vice versa. So it exists specifically just for that. It's just to have the games installed and then I can do a quick move back and forth. I bought Star Wars Jedi Survivor and I installed that, and it almost pissed me off because I'm like, this is like 140 gigs or something.
It's insane.
Like the game was 80 gigs, and then there was a 70 gig day one update. I'm like, that's absurd for this game.
Yeah,
there's games with more content, bigger, with like as much graphical fidelity and features that are a quarter of the size. So it's like, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the biggest, probably the largest offender of this is COD, right? Like they bring out a 250 gig game every year, and there's the tinfoil hat conspiracy of if they make the game big enough, you won't be able to install anything else, so you won't play anything else.
Yeah,
which is probably maybe a bit much, but
it's then made me think about the fact that Starfield's coming.
Is there size reports on that yet? There's gotta be size reports on that.
Yeah, there was. There definitely was because people have been preloading it.
Because you can preload it right, like as of now. Like I've already been, my flatmates are like gagging at the bit to play this game. They're both PC and or Steam Deck, but I've even said to them, "Hey, you do know that it's going to be day one on Game Pass."
Yeah. So I just found it. As listed on the Series XS, the file size of the standard edition of Starfield is 100.19 gigabytes, and the premium edition is 117. Apparently, the premium edition has 17 gigs extra worth of content. If you guys weren't aware,
sure,
that's
gotta be substantial. That's not offensive considering what I've seen about the game,
but it's still a lot.
It's still big.
A lot. It's a lot. But it's not as offensive as like Jedi Survivor being 100.
Yeah.
Right? Like it is a lot, but it's like in the realm of what I kind of expected with Starfield.
But yeah, I'm very curious to see kind of what they do with Baldur's Gate. To see, I mean, again, we don't have a release date yet, so they said this year, but again, it's nearly September, so who knows? Is that a November release? Is that a December release? Like I have no doubt that this is probably going to win Game of the Year. I think the zeitgeist around it has been just like, like it was Tears of the Kingdom all the way up until this, and now it's just this.
It's just
I
Baldur's Gate.
You can almost predict what's going to be. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
I was just going to say you can almost predict what Game of the Year is going to be, not even necessarily by like the quality of the game itself, but the societal impact it has. Like. I remember seeing like Elden Ring. Literally, that took over everyone's TikTok For You page for months.
Yeah.
I remember this year, everyone saying when Hogwarts Legacy came out that Hogwarts Legacy is going to be the game of the year. Such a good game, so fantastic, whatever. No one was talking about it after 2 weeks. It was gone.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's no way that wins no matter how good it is because it's not having the societal impact of a Game of the Year game. Tears of the Kingdom definitely did, but even that was gone after a few weeks. Baldur's Gate 3 is everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt in my mind that game's going to win.
It's kind of funny because it's like when I mentioned that we were getting this to Xbox this year to my flatmates, their first thought was, and I said like it's Game of the Year, like this is how it's going to be. They're like, but what about Starfield? And I was like, maybe.
I mean, I'm excited for Starfield. I think Starfield's going to rate highly. I think it's going to do really well. But
I don't think it would surpass Baldur's Gate, which is kind of funny because I'm the Xbox player, right?
Yeah.
And I still think Baldur's Gate is going to top out.
I agree. I'm excited for Starfield. I agree that I think it's going to do well. I think it's exactly what Xbox needed from a first-party title. But yeah, I don't
But
think it's
content-wise, I just don't think it's going to be the same as Baldur's Gate, because Baldur's Gate just has so much.
As they love to say, it has something for everyone.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks, IGN.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a 5 out of 10. It has something for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I think that like Starfield's an interesting one because it has a slightly different audience, but also it has probably quite a bit of overlap in terms of like, your sort of hardcore RPG enjoyers. But Starfield is also going to appeal to the Skyrim and Fallout lovers of those kind of games. So I think it's probably going to have a wider mass appeal. It's probably not going to be memed quite as much, but like that's, I don't know. I think it's probably going to be on like a lot of people's like top 10 list, but I don't think it's going to be like number one.
I don't think it would be.
I think what's going to break parity between Starfield and Baldur's Gate 3, just based on what I'm seeing in trends and TikToks and everything, it's going to come down to the romance options.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What game has the better romance options?
That's definitely going to be Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
I don't.
Nothing's gonna top Baldur's Gate in terms of that, and or like purely just character creation as well. Like I don't think you can. You can't beat that. Like
I saw somebody make Cthulhu.
Yep.
Like how did they do that?
That's so cool.
And the game knows like the character and your character creator is given like collision. So the Cthulhu
it knows its market.
Yeah. So the Cthulhu I saw the clip was like a romance scene, and the fucking romance partner grabbed Cthulhu's like face tentacle, and I'm like, how does it know there's a face tentacle to grab?
That's so
yeah. It's
I just feel slightly bad for the developers having to create those scenes because they're
putting in work.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your camera's just froze
frozen
there. It's frozen on Zoom.
Hold up.
So good. We can edit this.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that and kind of like, man, like, actually, there's also going to be a big mod community for that kind of stuff as well, right? But I think both games are really gonna see a lot of mileage from that. I actually going back to Armored Core, I actually saw someone had put out a San Andreas CJ mod for Armored Core. So it looks like you're playing as CJ in the white tank top, but it just looks super cursed because his arms are way too long because they're the arms of the mech.
Oh my god!
It was absolutely horrific. The game had been out a single day before someone had done that. So just to give you an idea of, sweet.
There we go. Yeah, fixed.
But speaking of also being on Steam and other platforms, it looks like it's also going to be cross-save, which is great. So I think that's going to be an important thing because obviously there's a big gap between people who have already started playing this and this game's been in early access to now being on Xbox.
I also have thoughts on this too, but Jake.
I have a bone to pick with that. I was talking to a friend today about Baldur's Gate, and we were trying to figure out if it was crossplay or not.
That is my thoughts.
And I'm like, when do you implement cross save before you implement cross play?
Yeah.
When you're trying to get a game out this year to make sure it's in the cycle, and you don't want to piss off everyone who thought they were waiting until next year to play it and already started on Steam.
Yeah, and already purchased it for the $100.
That's
100 in New Zealand too.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
That's valid.
But
I agree. Too. Like I think like crossplay would be amazing, and I think really, and I get the feeling it would be the kind of game that works perfectly for that, right? Like when you can already do online co-op, even the Series S will be able to do online co-op. It's just the local split screen that they're cutting out.
Like that's what I'm hoping for, because I want to play it with my friends. Like I've already lined up who I'm gonna play it with, and so my thoughts now are like, okay, if it doesn't have crossplay, am I gonna have to buy it on Steam and then Xbox as well so that I can play with the people that I want to play it with?
Yeah,
I'm like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you want me to make my hot take about? You want me to say a hot take about split screen?
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Go.
Hot take about split screen. When games skip out on split screen or don't have split screen, nobody actually cares. It's just the nostalgic memories.
I agree.
Yeah.
Nobody actually cares. Like
When was the last time you guys played a split screen game?
Oh, years. Maybe a decade. No, that's not true. I play Smash sometimes, from time to time. But there's a time if there's games for it, but nobody in today's world wants a game like Baldur's Gate that is a 100-hour experience or more that you can share cooperatively. No one wants to do that on
Yeah.
Not with half a screen when you could literally just play it on it. Like if I'm going to play it locally, it's going to be one person is on the PC and one person's on the Xbox in the same room. But
or it's just you're going to play single player by yourself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I can't think of playing it split screen in person with anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not what I would do.
To hear that like Baldur's Gate's not having split screen co-op for the Series S is kind of like, oh well. Like whatever, you're still
they definitely picked their battles, and they were like, at the end of the day, this was the thing that was holding it back from coming out on Xbox, and that's why Phil's calls them up and be like, just cut it. It's not worth the hassle.
Let's just
everyone's just like man, I miss split screen co-op, and I'm just like, no, you don't.
Like, the only reason you miss it is because you didn't have a choice back then. If I could play online with other people, I would have. I mean, there are some games like fighting games and Smash and that kind of stuff that there's definitely something to be in the room with someone that you could punch afterwards.
Like Mortal Kombat or like
and that's the time and
Crash
place.
Team Racing.
But that's different. These low commitment games, right?
Exactly.
Split screen needs to be safe for a
like
low
party
commitment.
Games, right?
Yeah, exactly. Something you play for a night with your buddies and you have some snacks and drink, but a full cinematic experience, like no. That. I don't want to have that couch co-op anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And sort of related to this is another story with Phil Spencer. So Phil Spencer was got interviewed by Eurogamer this week, and so there's been a couple of stories come out of that. And the first one was that kind of basically Phil Spencer saying he doesn't see a world where the Series S is dropped. So on this discussion, again, like Jake said, there's been discussion around how the Series S is potentially holding development back, which is kind of true or not true, depending on how you view things. But there was sort of talk around like, well, maybe it's time to ditch the Series S. Like, do we really need it? And he's basically come out and said that he thinks that like the fact that it's a lower price point than the PlayStation really justifies its existence no matter what. In that you have the Series S below the PlayStation 5, and then you have the Series X slightly above. And so, but there's been a lot of talk about it, and he says that like they want to keep it partly because also that console prices aren't coming down at the moment. In fact, in some places they're going up, as we've reported a few weeks back, and that like it's important for them to have a sub $300 box out there for the entry market, even if that doesn't have 100% parity, although they want to try and have that. They said it's definitely important to have that something that kind of competes in that sort of Switch price range. That can kind of plug in. And also they said like, like they also don't want to create additional complexity by pushing more into the PC side of things where it's like you have too many multiple SKUs with different stuff. People have to do research comparisons. Like, again, like I'm primarily an Xbox gamer. I have a little bit of PC knowledge, right? But I was thinking about upgrading the PC that I use for the show and for the occasional Game Pass game. And even I'm like, I need to pull up a spreadsheet and start looking at like, okay, what are the specs? What am I going to do? Like, I need to do research in this. Where it's like, if I was going to buy the next Xbox, I just look at like, okay, high-end model, low-end model. Like that's, like that's complexity to begin with, but it's not so complex that I feel like it's bad for the consumers.
I feel like a lot of.
Sorry. Yep.
I was just gonna say, I feel like a lot of people who have opinions on this kind of thing are like the super hardcore and don't realize that they're a minority.
Exactly.
I think a bad trait of the hardcore gamers, they don't realize how in the minority they are.
Yeah, because like Xbox wouldn't sell the Series S if it wasn't selling, right? They would have cut their losses if it was a complete trash fire and no one bought it. I mean, like I don't really know anyone who owns a Series S outside of like Cameron. I think has one for traveling.
Cameron has two.
Yeah, of course he does because he fucking made a set anyway. But I've considered it for maybe when I travel, but I don't really need one. It's a small box, would pack nicely into a suitcase. But there are so many use cases where someone wants a digital only box that plays all the Game Pass games, which is a huge fucking library, as an entry point into the generation. Like,
Great thing for a kid, right?
I
yeah,
do
exactly.
get it.
Like,
yeah, it makes a great second console as well, right? You know, if you have your main you have your Series X and your kid wants to play it, and you have an extra TV in their room or something, or in a lounge or whatever, you can like, yeah, we'll get them a Series S. It has, we'll get them a Game Pass subscription, or home box it.
it's great
Yeah.
for the hardcore achievement hunters who want a double box but don't want to buy two of the top
Yeah,
line
that's
consoles.
true.
And
Yeah.
you get a Series X and then you get a Series S. And
Yeah, and another thing he kind of brought up was that, like, yeah, like ideally they said every game should be 4K 60 FPS, but that's just not realistic. And there was some talk around like mid-gen refreshes, like how the One X and the Scorpio and all that kind of stuff when that came out. But it looks like Microsoft have also said that like they're kind of not going in that generation for this one. Like the reason that happened was because technology changed quite quickly, and that the original devices were somewhat underpowered when they came out, right? When the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One first released, it was a generation where they weren't sure they were going to do more generations. It was kind of, and the necessity of 4K becoming a thing kind of changed the landscape a little bit. Whereas I think we're seeing a little bit less of that. I think we're seeing a lot of really cool stuff in video games, but we aren't seeing those big, huge leaps like we saw back in the day, for obvious reason, because a billion pixels looks pretty close to 500,000, 500 million pixels, right? But it's like,
well, I think a lot of the current strides in that area are less on the internal unit hardware side, and it's more just like the displays are getting, right?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what GPU you have to just have a TV display in OLED or not, right?
True.
So like that's the big tech right now. 8K is a joke. I think 8K will always be a joke to me.
Yeah.
I can't see a world where I'll ever buy an 8K TV until they're like the equivalent to the 1080p or 4K TV, and you can just go. That's what you just go buy for $400.
That's what everyone has that now.
Yeah,
exactly.
you
Like,
just
trying
go
to
buy
get a
an
1080p TV these days is next to impossible. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, 8K is a joke. It's unnecessary. No one needs it. Frame rates are getting great. I've been playing, and we'll talk. Obviously, I'll get a little ahead. We'll talk about what we've been playing. But I've been playing Ghostwire, and I have a little refresh rate thing in the corner of my monitor for my monitor, and it's running beautifully anywhere between 90 and 120 frames in 4K,
Wow.
and the details are great. So like, I think the technology is kind of in a really great spot, especially in the physical console hardware aspect. Now, if you want your game to look better, it's all just in the display you buy. So like that's where the big technology shift is happening right now, is in display technology. So.
And I feel like, the consoles are only a few years old at this point. There's more to squeeze out of them. Some of the best games in the generations come out towards the later years, right? When they've learned how the hardware works, they've optimized it, they've got all the tricks. I mean, like, yeah, like I've never been more excited for video games than right now, right? There's been some absolute banger releases this year, and I think we're going to get a lot more next year as well. Phil also points out that, like, if you start going down that mid-console refresh, you end up basically following the GPU market of every 2 years a new GPU comes out, or the next CPU, and it's like, how do you make that decision? How do you get a good price point? How do you make sure there isn't confusion? Like, you sort of pushing into the PC market, which is like not where, like, Xbox obviously wants to have a presence there, but more on the software side of things, not on the hardware.
That makes me really happy to hear, and I hope Sony's on the same wavelength as Microsoft, because I just bought a PS5 and I'm like, God damn it, the PS5 Pro is going to come out in 6 months. I know it.
Well, there was some rumors about a PS5 Slim, which, to be fair, I mean,
that.
To be fair, the PS5 could probably use a little slimming down. That thing's fucking massive.
It's a huge console.
It's offensively large.
Yeah.
I remember taking that thing out of the box, and I was just like, what is this, dude? This is stupid.
Yeah, so I guess we'll kind of see there. But they do kind of say that, like, Microsoft are a Windows company still, and they obviously want to have support for PC. But, they also want to have, like, the Xbox to have more things like Discord and, like, other bits and things integrate into Xbox as more of an ecosystem, as opposed to putting out a new console every, 3 or 4 years just to to keep up with the Joneses. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I mean, like you did mention also that the Series S 1 terabyte version is coming out. It's in black, which looks nice. There's a nice look for it. So I guess I think maybe we'll see maybe some slightly more SKUs in terms of like storage size and maybe a few other bits and pieces. But I think it'll be very much like internal tech as opposed to like big marquee mid-cycle launches or anything like that, like we had last generation. Which is great because it means I don't have to fucking buy another one.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't buy the last one, so
I did. Well, true. I did not. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
you're overdue. You gotta go buy. You're gonna have to buy 2.
Yeah,
you're gonna make up for it. Jeez.
I had to do a Fast and Furious heist style thing, right, where they would try to get away with the Series X, and I had to break into the back of a truck. Also, that was the beginning of that first movie. They were stealing VCRs. There were literally VCRs in the back of that truck. That's just to give you an idea of how long that series has been going.
Yeah.
Char, do you want to talk about this last story?
Yeah. So that leads us into Microsoft selling Activision Blizzard cloud gaming rights to Ubisoft.
Which is
interestingly
insane.
Yep.
Not a headline I thought I was going to see this year, to be fair.
I don't even know what it means. I'm so confused. Like Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard, and Ubisoft all in the same thing. I'm like, who owns what now? Then who controls what? I don't understand.
I don't think they even know anymore, to be honest. Like
this feels like them being like, "Hey, CMA, fuck you. Try to figure this shit out."
Yeah.
Basically, because the decision is going to CMA are expected to make a decision by October the 18th about this one. But the rights will give Ubisoft control over the distribution of Activision Blizzard's console and PC games for the next 15 years, removing Microsoft's ability to make the games exclusive to Xbox Cloud Gaming.
I still don't know what that means. I'm gonna be honest. Only Xbox Cloud. So like they can't make things exclusive to Xbox Cloud Game. So they make that. Are they talking just about the cloud space? So they're saying like it has to also be available on whatever
Ubisoft Plus, basically.
Yeah,
I think it's
and like the Razer doesn't NVIDIA.
NVIDIA GeForce Now or whatever it is. Yeah. So again, this is still a little bit up for interpretation because it's only just came out. But from what I understand, and again, the CMA has not ruled on this yet, like Char said. So there's still could not go anywhere. But in order to basically, like, one of the key things in their investigation was they were worried about Microsoft having too much of a stronghold in the cloud market with having Activision Blizzard titles exclusive to cloud potentially, and not available. And so they also said they were going to put it out to other places, but they've also now said that in the UK, where this basically needs to happen, they're going to give the rights to Ubisoft to put it on Ubisoft Plus. It might be on... We don't know if it's going to be on cloud gaming as well. Probably not. Because Ubisoft Plus is also available as part of a subscription on Xbox already, right? So it wouldn't make a lot of sense. Ubisoft is paying them some sort of fee for it, like a big lump sum, and then they're going to give them some sort of like cut, probably 30% as usual, for those games. But it basically means that Ubisoft is going to be able to, in the UK only, be the ones where you could, like, if you want to play an Activision Blizzard game on the cloud in the UK, you have to go through Ubisoft Plus, basically. Which is like...
Only in the UK.
Well, as far as we know, we don't, again, like, this, the way that they've said it doesn't necessarily say UK only, but I couldn't imagine they would want to do this for the entire world if they could avoid it, because, like...
Yeah, that'd be ass.
Yeah.
What does that mean for like non-cloud exclusivity? Does that mean they could still release the game as a console exclusive, but then they'd have to put it on all the other cloud platforms?
Yeah, so you could put it on Game Pass, but it wouldn't be cloud. You wouldn't be able to play it via the cloud, which is not unusual, right? Like Xbox cloud gaming already has some restrictions on what you can and can't play on there already. You can't play your entire library, but usually their first-party stuff is available, and this will become first-party when they acquire them.
Yeah, that's... I don't know, man. That's so... I hate that headline. I hate everything about that headline.
It's kind of a nightmare,
just confusing, really.
Yeah, and so the CMA basically said they're going to do a new investigation based on this and come back by October 18th. But they also said this may not change anything. They may still hardline and say, "No, fuck you. This isn't good enough. We need more." In which case, I don't know what Microsoft's going to do. I mean, there was talk about Microsoft saying that they might just not publish games in Activision Blizzard games in the UK.
I heard about that. Yeah,
which is like crazy to think about.
It is. It's because it is, and it's a sucky thing, especially because like of all there's a huge fan base of obviously gamers in the UK. But I think Microsoft just like assesses the market and like how much of a market they would actually lose in comparison. And I think like they'd just be like, we gotta stop turning the gears on this. Like play ball at CMA or fine, we'll just like cut you out. And I think they've come to terms with like the financials of that and just like whatever.
And I think the other thing is that like cloud is such a small part of their current business at the moment, right? Like cloud has always been for them something where they've been like, no, you should be playing this on a console or on a PC if you can. Cloud is an extra, and that won't always be the case, right? Like as infrastructure improves and as the world goes on, cloud will become the dominant platform. But I don't think for another like 5 to 10 years at least. I think we're still a long way from that. We're a lot longer than like you regular pundits would think from the technology phase of things, right? Like I think that like, you know, we were talking about cloud streaming back in like the OnLive days, and it hasn't actually it's gotten better, but it hasn't got so much better that I would be like, oh yeah, I just cloud stream on my data all the time.
A big portion of this guy's press conference was the future of gaming is cloud gaming, and that was back in 2015, and we're finally now just getting to the...
Yeah, they're not wrong, right? And I think that this deal being like a 15-year deal is probably Microsoft being like, yeah, in 15 years, we'll be in a way better spot in the cloud market to be like, yeah, cloud is now what we do. And so up until that point, it's like, yeah, fuck it, give them the games. It's one territory, it's one load of games, and we still make money on the deal, and we get a cut every time someone plays them.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird one. It's such a weird one.
Yes, so strange.
So hard to wrap my brain around it. Like, so all these companies that I just never pictured for the longest time, like hanging out with each other, are all like hanging out with each other now.
Everyone's talking to everyone, right? But yeah, that's the latest on the Activision Blizzard acquisition that just will not die. So it looks like that's going to go out until October. So we will see how that goes.
I thought it was done.
Yeah, it was supposed to be done. But we just will not go.
No.
Speaking of things that are going though, Game Pass. We've got a few things that are leaving. We've got. Do you see that segue? That segue was amazing.
You're not supposed to mention it afterwards.
No,
you're supposed to just go with it.
It's just fucking nailed it.
No, that deserved mention. That was really good.
So we've got a few games leaving Game Pass in the next couple of days. We've got Black Desert, Commandos 3 HD Remaster, the fantastic Immortality that everyone should go and play, Nuclear Throne that has Unobtainable, so good luck, Surgeon Simulator, which has one of the highest ratios I've ever seen of a game, so don't bother with that, and Tinykin, which is a really fun Pikmin game for people who don't own a Nintendo device. Tinykin's great. Pretty straightforward, just need a guide for the collectibles. And then stuff coming up, not a huge amount yet. Obviously, everything's a little... Well, there's one big one, but we've got Sea of Stars coming out on the 29th, which I'm very excited about. We've got Gris, which apparently is very good. It's been out for a little bit, but is now joining Game Pass, so I'm definitely interested in that on September 5th. And then, of course, the big one, Starfield, September 6th. Everyone's giving that a bit of a wide berth. After that, we've got nothing joining till the 19th with Liza P. So... yeah, they're giving it a lot of runway. Microsoft have been like, no, these 2 weeks, that's fucking Starfield time.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Are you guys going to play Starfield day and date?
Not day one.
No. For no reason. Or, well, not for no reason. Not like for any reason against Starfield. But
yeah. I'm going to wait until at least I know that there's been like... I know better than to jump on it day one.
I've been burned by Bethesda games too many times before.
I will wait for an update. Although my flatmates are jumping on it day one.
I'm not worried about it being broken because, again, as said earlier in the show, I have a high tolerance for retro jank, and I think that translates to a high tolerance for modern jank too. I don't really
Sure.
bugs don't really bug me. I just have 4,000 video games that I want to play, and I'm working on them now. And I hate leaving a game for another game, so it will be played when I catch a breath
Yeah.
when it will be played. So who knows when that'll be? Hopefully soon. I would like to play it before the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm going to try and squeeze it in for Game of the Year chat, but I've still got that. I'm still probably going to have to play Armored Core. I need to go back to Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 as well, just to make sure I've given those enough of a chance. Oh boy. And then Baldur's Gate apparently, which I was like, oh cool, next year, sweet, don't have to worry about it. Guess fucking not.
Yup.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe it'll be December, and then you won't have to talk about it for Game of the Year.
That's true. That's true. It can be, yeah. It'll just get, lots of nods, but no awards.
Yeah.
But
We'll
yeah,
see
so
how it
Game
goes.
Pass is looking a little sparse at the moment, although we did have a Gamescom is happening at the moment. That's where Cameron is. He seems to be having a very good time.
Yeah.
Make sure you go and check out his Discord. He's been posting some of his journeys pictures there. It's the first time he's ever been to Germany, so he's having a good time in general as well. But I completely forgot where I was going there. I got completely distracted by Germany.
Germany will do that to you.
Yeah, but yes,
Leave it
Yeah.
to Germany.
yeah. But Gamescom's had a lot of announcements, a lot of Game Pass stuff. So there's a few bits and pieces. We don't want to go into all of them because it's kind of there's a lot and they're kind of just announcements at this point. But a lot of stuff coming to Game Pass. I think like Stalker got pushed to next year. Descent, that Don't Nod game, the climbing one, looks like it's coming out in like Game Pass in October. So like there's a lot of stuff coming to Game Pass over the next few weeks, but they're obviously kind of leaving some space for Starfield. So we'll see how that
Just leaving
how that
room
stacks
for
up.
it.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense because it's their biggest release in a long time.
Yeah.
All right, well let's get into what we've been up to. I'll start with well, what am I going to start with? I'll just rattle off a couple of quick ones that I did that were kind of not that important. I did Quake 2. That has, if you do it on PC, it's got console commands, so you can get through it in like an hour and a half. Similar with Broforce. Broforce has, if you do it on PC, has a bunch of cheat codes that can get you through most of the game in a couple of hours. You do have to. One of the achievements you can only unlock on Xbox, which means you got to get through like halfway through the game. But it's really simple, so it's pretty straightforward. There's some guides out there. Check those out. I also finished up Super Time Force. I did like the last achievement for running through that on Super Hardcore, just because it's part of our Gone with Gold challenge. I wanted to get it done. It's been sitting there since 2016. And I've been playing more Everspace 2, been super deep into that, finished the story for that, and so I'm like loving it. That's my game of the year so far for sure. If you like space sims or arcade flying or any of that kind of shit, it's top tier. I have a bunch of other stuff, but we'll kind of get into it. But those kinds of things that I've already talked about or aren't really that interesting. But let's start with you, Jake. Tell me about Ghostwire.
Yeah, so I'm playing Ghostwire Tokyo because it is part of my Discord's monthly, or now sometimes we do 2-month-long ones. Video game book club where every month or 2 months we vote on a game to have the community participate in. No pressure to play it if you don't want to play it, but it's kind of just something we've been doing since I think the inception of the server. So it's been like 3 years of that now. And Ghostwire Tokyo is the game, so I picked it up. And it's good. I like Ghostwire Tokyo. But I remember Matt talking about it when I kind of was up for a vote, and he said it was the most mid game he's ever played, or like up one, or like something like that. And yeah, it's such a 3 out of 5.
Yeah,
like,
it is. Yeah, it's so middle of the road.
Yeah, it's like I would say a little better than middle of the road.
Sure, it's like a 6 out of 10.
Huge. Yeah, I'm a huge like super into like I love the Japanese culture, and the theming of the game I think is really well done, and the game is gorgeous, and so it's super fun flying around Tokyo, and there are some genuinely like spooky like scary parts of the game where I'm like the atmosphere is done so well that I'm like, this is actually like I don't really want to go through that door or go around that corner where this big lady in a red dress with a smile that stretches her whole face is going to try to eat me. Like, so the tone of the game is done incredibly well. They nailed that. But the story is not given enough room to breathe. I'm on Act 4 now. I just started Act 4. There's no room for the story to breathe. You're thrown directly into it. You are given no time to care about these characters. So I'm not invested at all in the story. I've started getting to the point where the story bits are like, when there's the cutscene, it's the cutscene. I don't watch the cutscene. But when they're just having a conversation and you can press B to skip the dialogue, I don't let them finish reading. I just read it and then hit B and read it and hit B. Like, so I'm still absorbing the story, but I literally am just like, I don't care about you reading it to me. The combat's uninspired is probably the best way to put it. It felt like they wanted to do a lot with it, but just didn't get there, I guess. I don't feel like I ever have to, and maybe it's because I'm playing on easy, which, fair. If you were playing on a harder setting and there maybe was more strategy to the combat, but I don't use the like little special talismans you can throw down. I basically use just the first weapon, the wind weapon. Every now and again, I'll switch to like the fire, the other one if I want to like just nuke a boss or something. The bow I wish I discovered was badass way sooner. I discovered what I really like doing is sneaking around and headshotting enemies with like the ghosts with the bow. I think that's a really cool combat. But yeah, there's nothing there really in combat that is exciting. And the gameplay is, and I went over this in my Discord, I discussed this in the channel we have talking about this kind of thing, is like, if I'm going to recommend this game to you, it's kind of like a flow chart of things that like, if this, see here, if this, see here. So it kind of goes, did you like Far Cry? If yes, are you sick of Far Cry? If yes, still yes, do you at least really like Japanese culture and themes? And if that's yes, okay, go ahead and play Ghostwire Tokyo. However, if you don't care, or you're in the middle or road of that, don't play Ghostwire Tokyo because it's just more Far Cry. However, if you've never played a Far Cry game, but enjoy like Japanese culture and stuff, I would say most of us probably enjoyed our first experience with a game like that. So I would be like, yeah, you should go play Ghostwire Tokyo. So that's kind of like my guide on if I would recommend this game to you, and that's kind of been my experience with it. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, I had very similar thoughts, especially around the story and like the pacing and all that kind of stuff. And the one of the things is that the amount of collectibles in this game is like ridiculous. It is a huge collectathon that even Assassin's Creed would be like, okay, calm down, buddy. Like, it's a lot.
I got about, I don't know, a couple hours in before I realized how much of a collectathon it was. And I actually, when I went and played Maneater, I was using the Map Genie, mapgenie.io, I think it is, map of it. And I really liked the maps. And so I signed up for their subscription to Map Genie. I recommend Map Genie. Play 100%
Map Genie's amazing.
It's like $8 for a year of Map Genie. So I immediately was like, yeah, I'll pay for this subscription to Map Genie. And I got a couple hours into Ghostwire, and I'm like, I wonder if Map Genie does it. And sure enough, they did. So I've been having a decent enough time just following the Map Genie map. So, and you are 100% going to need the Pro to Map Genie if you want to use it for Ghostwire Tokyo, because the standard Map Genie only lets you mark off like 100 or so things. The Pro version lets you mark and track unlimited things. And there's far more than 100 things.
Oh, yeah. There is a lot. They do thankfully kind of give you some things that, like some bracelets and stuff that will help you point you in the right direction of some collectibles, which is good. They have some usability stuff, which is great. But yeah, I echo your sentiments exactly around, especially like the combat being like, the combat's quite, it doesn't really have a lot of feeling to it. Like the fact that, you're throwing up your gang signs to kill the enemies, but it's like, it doesn't really feel like a lot of weight to it. And also,
there's not a lot of responsiveness to the enemies from attack to attack, right? Like I'd be using my wind magic, that's like the fast light attack, and then I'd switch to the fire magic, which was the big explosive attack, and then do the exact same like stagger. So like there's no real feedback on like how much damage am I actually doing here. So it just kind of felt a little lackluster the whole way with the combat. Like I said, it felt like they had ideas that they wanted to execute and they just didn't. I don't know if they just didn't have enough time or what, but TLDR, Ghostwire Tokyo, if you're looking forward to it, it is a Ubisoft game made by Bethesda in Japan.
Yeah,
make of that what you will. I even noticed, I was going to bring this up to you. I don't know if you noticed, but when you're going around absorbing the spirits, the icon that they show, it looks like the Ubisoft logo.
It does, yeah. Yeah, it does. It's that
I
swirl,
noticed that right away.
Yeah. I was like, bro, come on. Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
I think the thing I liked most about the game was the extra, like the school area that they add, which is like wasn't part of the original game. It was part of the sort of free title update that they put out. It's in like the top left area. And like
I saw that on my map, Genie map, but I haven't been there yet.
Yeah, so it's kind of like more of a self-contained area. Like when I started playing the game, it was when it came out to Game Pass, obviously, the release week. And so they put in this spider expansion, which has the roguelite mode, along with this another like small area that they added to the map. They kind of unfogged it. And so it's like a self-contained little journey like within a school. So it has like those classic like Japanese school horror stuff going on. And that works actually like really well because it's like a more indoor environment. It's kind of got like a maze like element and some puzzle solving stuff.
Yeah.
Which is really, really cool.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, I wish the game was like a bit more of that.
Yeah. No, if you love Japanese folklore and scenery and culture, you'll love Ghostwire. Yeah. Because that is the part of the game that it nails. It gets it so right. That's like the saving grace of the game is the tone, the feel, the theming, the atmosphere. That is the only part of Ghostwire Tokyo that hit the 10 out of 10 category. Totally the atmosphere of it. Nailed it. So if you like that kind of thing, go check it out. And if you also have a tolerance for like overall middling experiences, 3 out of 5 experiences, yeah, you'll probably enjoy it. It's like
it's pretty mindless.
Yeah, depending on it's been great to literally just like go around the map, get collectibles, and catch up on YouTube. Like it's kind of been a breath of fresh air from the cinematic experience that I had played previously, which you want to segue into the next.
Yeah, go for it.
What I've been doing. So outside of Ghostwire Tokyo, right before that, I literally jumped right into Ghostwire Tokyo from getting the platinum. Dun dun dun.
Okay, all right. That's
platinum trophy.
Go for it.
On Final Fantasy 16.
Okay, it's an exclusive, so that's understandable.
Yeah.
That
was fantastic. Final Fantasy 16 blew me away. I was very hesitant going in. I wasn't sure how much I wanted. I know the whole thing with Final Fantasy is I believe the original director of the game sat down like a future director and basically told him was like Final Fantasy is supposed to be the game that the director thinks will be the best game, basically. So like they kind of have always had the sentiment of that there is no game that Final Fantasy has to be. They change from game to game. They've been doing that since they were pretty similar 1 through 6, but then with slight changes, and then they started really coming into their own from 7 onwards. So they've never been the same game for like 2 decades, if not almost 3 decades. So I get that, but I wasn't sure how much I wanted this amount of change. Like this was a lot. This was even 15 still kind of felt it felt like an action RPG.
Sure.
Right.
But it had a lot of RPG elements.
Yeah. So I wasn't, but this is a hack and slash. This is Devil May Cry, Final Fantasy. And I wasn't sure how much I wanted that. And then I started playing, and I almost was like, I'm going to wait. I'm not even going to get a PS5 for it. And then I saw people playing it, and I just caved. Final Fantasy is my favorite series of all time.
Peer pressure.
Yeah. It's my
we don't know what that is.
So since Final Fantasy, I'm not going to say that because I got into the series kind of late. But I mean, Final Fantasy 15 was a day one for me. Almost all other Final Fantasy content is usually like I'm all on top of it right away. And yeah, I caved pretty quickly to this one. But I very quickly, it became one of my favorite stories of Final Fantasy that I've ever played. It's a much more mature story. It's definitely described accurately as like Final Fantasy Game of Thrones, the more medieval tone and a lot of the politics they talk about and the revenge and the it's in the bloodiest Final Fantasy ever played, the most brutal. Like it's super intense, super mature story for a mature audience for sure. They grew with their audience, but it's one of the best stories Final Fantasy has ever told. It is the best hack and slash game I've ever played. Yeah, this game is like, other than the completion was a bit monotonous because they're towards the end the pacing gets a little fucked up. They like between the last two main missions they throw like 10 side quests in between each main mission. So like outside of that weird pacing thing right at the end, just because of the game gets, I give the game like a 9.6 out of 10. Just because of that weird thing at the end.
I have heard the side quests have been a little bit lackluster compared to like the really
they're pretty story. They're pretty middling, pretty whatever. Some of them were pretty cool like side stories, but some of them were just like weird precious quests. But they weren't too intrusive for a while. It was like you do a bunch of main mission things and then you do like a few side quests. Like a couple would open up, but then at the end it was literally just like, all right, you finished your big main quest, and now here's 10 side quests. And then you finish the main quest right before the final quest. All right, here's 15 more. Ugh. And I was just like, oh my god, dude. That was the only downside. Game was immaculate. I hope it comes to Xbox for anyone who refuses to buy PS5. I understand it. Don't buy a PS5. I hope it comes to Xbox so you can experience it. And if you do have a PS5, don't sleep on Final Fantasy 16. If you don't like RPGs, if you don't think you'd like it because you've never liked RPGs before, I have great news for you. This is like not an RPG at all. It's a full-on action combat hack and slash game with like you gain experience and there's a level system, but like you just get skill points, like just like any other action hack and slash game. So, yeah, that's my endorsement for 16.
If it comes to Xbox and Game Pass, I'll be playing it day one for sure. So
yeah, 100%. And then on a rapid fire note, I been slowly working through Forza Motorsport 7 before work, just to rush any sort of weird server issues because Turn 10 sucks. Yep. Stardew Valley slowly with a friend. Always a constant grind on those achievements. I put in some of the next games I'm gonna be playing. Oh, I guess what I am also playing is I'll show you. I'm fucking addicted to Egg Inc. on the phone.
Oh my god.
I can't stop playing. You can't really see it that well because my green screen's all messed up, but whatever. I'm addicted to that. I play it literally every day. And then I'm going to be playing Armored Core 6 Pfizer Rubicon. It got delivered to my parents' house 4 hours away because I don't trust my apartment community to, and for maybe no reason other than paranoia, but I just don't trust my apartment community to not steal it or the delivery drivers to deliver it well. Because I did get the $225 statue edition.
Of course you did.
So I had it shipped. I'm a huge Armored Core fan. It's the first collector's edition I bought in like 5 years. Leave me alone. I had it shipped to my parents' house. I'm gonna go pick it up next weekend. As soon as Ghostwire Tokyo is done, I'm gonna probably load directly into Armored Core 6. And then when I find some time, I plan to use the PS5 I bought for more than just Final Fantasy 16, and I'm gonna dive into Miles Morales finally.
Cool.
Pretty stoked for it.
Right.
That's what I've been up to and will be up to.
Amazing. I'll touch on some of the other stuff I've been playing. So Chained Echoes, I mentioned this. This was the other one that was up for a potential book club for AHA. And since I'd already done Ghostwire, I decided to jump on that one. Chained Echoes, I've mentioned a couple of times, is fantastic. It's a great game. So I finally finished it. I had a little bit of a grind at the end, as these games tend to do, but it's fantastic. Like I think that like you can play it on easy. It's really accessible. I like how you can grind for skill points to increase your skill level, or you can just use the skills. But leveling and gaining new abilities only happens when you collect these Grimoire shards that you can usually only get from quests or from bosses. So basically, there isn't a huge incentive to stand there and grind for 50 levels. It's like there's no point. Just play the game. I know on the higher difficulties it gets brutally difficult. So probably want to play it on normal or easy, but had a great time with it. I mentioned how I was like, oh yeah, you get like your 6 characters, and that's like probably most of the party. There are 12 characters in this game. It is a big party, a lot of personalities, a lot of characters. Some of them are optional as well. So like it takes like it's a love letter to a lot of Final Fantasy games, and Chrono Trigger, and like it was made by a person who was obviously like understood. They were like, hey, this is how JRPGs should be made. Here's a lot of modern stuff I've added, but it's I highly, highly recommend it. Um, get on it. It only took me like 35 hours with a guide. I think Mike got it done in about 50 without a guide, so somewhere in between there, usually for most people, I think. Definitely get on there. Char, what about you?
I haven't really been playing much in the last 2 weeks aside from going back to like backlog stuff. So I have been going back to Spyro Reignited, and Costume Quest 2, because I've almost got it done. I've just got to finish the story, and then I have to go back and do a second playthrough because I need to go through and do all the collectible stuff. Because I think when I first started playing it, I decided I was going to just play it, and then realized quite quickly afterwards just how many
Imagine that
collectibles
playing
there
for
were.
fun.
I know, who does that? What?
No, me never.
No, never.
Could be me.
Like, why?
Gaming is a chore that dictates my life. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Working, gaming,
that's me.
sleep. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I've been playing.
I've got a couple of others. It's been a busy week for me. A lot of cleanup. With the 360 store going down, I decided that I was going to try and do a couple of 360 games. So I started, again, these are games that I've already started in my backlog, so I don't feel too bad. But How to Survive. So I mentioned I did the Xbox One version with Mike a while back. Just decided, okay, fine, I might as well clean the 360 version up as well. Same game, doesn't have the DLC. Should be pretty straightforward, I hope, but we'll see how that goes. I'm very early on. I also played a Wick Fable of Souls, which no one is probably have any idea what I'm talking about. It was a very early arcade game where essentially you play as a little gnome gremlin dude who looks a bit like Golem. And the idea is it's a physics game where you essentially put your tongue out to grab onto things and swing like Spider-Man. And so it's about like angles and vertices and trying to like get like momentum to swing across gaps and things. And the idea is that you're trying to swing around a sort of like a static level, picking up grubs and throwing them to your little pack mule who's walking across the level. And you got to make sure you get all the grubs to the pack mule before he leaves the level. It's a really kind of cute and interesting game. I had like 2 achievements left in the game. There's a challenge mode that has 50 levels on it that was like quite tough, and I did maybe like 10 or 15 of them back in the day. So I've gone back. I have 2 left to do. They're both quite challenging, and it hurts my thumb because the controls are not great. So I need to do that. And then there's also one for doing 3 loop-de-loops on different, like you need to do like a loop-de-loop, a release, and then catch onto another thing, do another loop-de-loop, and then do it, release and catch and do another loop-de-loop. So like it's quite challenging in terms of like timing, and you need to aim, and it also plays like an old 360 game, so it's not super precise, which is the wrong kind of thing for this game. But it's been sitting there since 2008. I started it, I think. So it's one of those ones that would be really, really great to get done. Obviously not backwards compatible either.
I have seen it. It also had I Googled it to look it up. For $18, the low price of $18, you could own the physical PC box copy of it.
Wow. Wow.
Cool.
Jesus, that's so weird to think about.
Yeah.
I think physical, back 2008, right? I think most people have played it because it was on the I think it was part of like an Xbox arcade collection disc of some sort. I think is where most people have tried it or seen it. I think it might have been a demo, it might have been a full game, I'm not sure, but it was one of those like early 360 things where they were like still doing demo discs to get people interested in the arcade idea of smaller games. Back when you used to buy things with Microsoft points. So yeah, I've been working on that. It actually hurt my thumbs to play. I also played Dordogne, which is that beautiful looking narrative game on Game Pass about the girl in the little French village. It's okay. I mean, like story wise, it kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. It's kind of cute and interesting, but like kind of feels like it's kind of missing some threads. or feels a bit rushed. Might have been something lost in translation, but the art style of the game is incredible. It's all like watercolors, and it's just very, very beautiful. So, worth checking out. There is I think Macca has a really good guide on it if you're looking to just do a video guide, because there are a lot of collectibles in the game. There is now a chapter select, so it's easy to kind of get through them. But yeah, I would just follow the guide. It took me like 2 or 3 hours. Wasn't too long.
That's good. That's a nice short one.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of again, like I kind of just cleaned up a lot of short games last week. And then I played Stray as well. I was kind of going through that. I like this game a lot. It's really good. It's like I wasn't sure what to think, because I know it got a lot of hype. It was in Game of the Year list and that kind of stuff. And I kind of mentioned last week that I'd started like the first couple of chapters. So I've done the whole game now and then did the speed run. That game's great. It's really, really good. It's very chill. I think the speed run is kind of, again, like I say with all speed runs, I feel like it kind of defeats the purpose of the game, like of a game like that. It's supposed to be a chill exploration of being a cat, but like whatever.
Perna, man, they make good games.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I would highly recommend it. I'm sure it'll come to Game Pass at some stage. But yeah, great game. And also not overly difficult. The speed run I did it in like an hour and 40, and you have 2 hours to do it. So like I had plenty of wiggle room. But yeah, so a lot of games this week. And we'll see what the next week looks like. I think I'm going to be playing a lot, but not necessarily scoring a lot. I also gave like Need for Speed Most Wanted a try and got nowhere. So got a feeling that the 360 stuff is going to kind of bite me in the ass, but we'll get there. Char, do you want to go through the leaderboard?
Yep, I can do that. Let's go here. So this week we have, I think, 3 newbies in the top there. Potentially, I'm not sure. But we've got in third place Martel with 10,735. In second place we have Red047 with 10,935, so not much in it between those two. And then in top place we have Mephisto for the win with 18,554.
Oh man, yeah.
Just
Mephisto
taking out number 1.
He's killing it. So yeah, good job, guys. Those are some crazy numbers for a week. For a week, that's just insane. I don't know how you guys keep it up.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, our leaderboard is weekly.
That's as much gamer score I feel like I get in a year these days.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's kind of nuts. Jake, do you want to go through some of our completions?
Yeah, I'd love to. We've got Baron von Neumann with Diablo 4, Jesus, jealous. Remnant 2, Phantasy Star Online 2. Happy Moogles with Back for Blood, also jealous. We've got Shane Firehawk with The Night Witch, Divinity 2. Not jealous. I don't know how you sat through that one. Dragon Knight Saga and Final Fantasy 15, great choice. Pocket Edition, still a great choice. The Moonzom did Broforce. Cobra Todd did Dirt 5. L4D Pills here, Left 4 Dead Pills here did Grim Fandango, great game, in Benba. Raptured finished Tinykin. Mr. Apocalypse finished Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Well done, lad. Frost finished Gorguns and Cannoli, and myself platinumed Final Fantasy 16.
Some really good ones this week. There's especially like Baron, and that's a big one.
I'm sure Remnant 2 was not easy, and Diablo 4 is one that eldest I look at, and I'm like, oh, why did I start this game?
I completely forgot about Diablo 4. It's insane.
It's a great game. I really liked it, but I lucky going back and finishing up. Like, I finished the story and I haven't touched it again yet since, and I like the completion. I'm just like,
I've been seeing a lot of talk around that similar sort of feeling.
Yeah, it's just a grind. You just got to put in a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course we've got the word challenge, our favorite competition, where basically I come up with a game, and then you need to go into our Discord and guess the title of that game, and if you win, you either win a prize, usually a code for the game, or potentially a gift card, depending on what you want. I come up with a clue each week. The clues range from incredibly unhelpful to basically giving you the answer. You need to listen to the podcast to get it. We're on week 3, so we're getting towards that later category. But the first clue was that this game has been part of a subscription service. Whether that's present or past, it's up to you. You need to figure it out. The second one, it has more than one genre on True Achievements. And the third and new clue is that this game has less than 30 achievements. So good luck to you. Go into our Discord and guess in the channel. You get one guess per hour. And our good friend Logic Dad, Isaac, in the chat has guessed The Witness. It is not The Witness, and in fact has never been The Witness. But if you guess The Witness, you can go and try and guess The Witness. I guarantee you it's not the correct answer. But because so many people guess
don't know that you're going to get very far.
No. But I have been putting in unique Jonathan Frakes gifts every time someone guesses The Witness. So I'm just, yeah. So that's been the enjoyment I've been getting out of it. I think someone posted their completion of The Witness in that channel, which is completely the wrong thing to do. No,
it's the right thing to do.
So good luck. Yeah. So if you guess the game, you get a copy of it. A code has been submitted by one of our community members, which I'll reveal the game and the community member afterwards, just so I don't give anything away or get you to badger them too much. But good luck to everyone. Next week we'll have a very obvious clue. So now is the time to start guessing before everyone gets in. I also want to give a huge thank you to our Patreons. Patreon.com/HallOfGamers is the place to give us some money so we can support the show. So go into paying for things like the Word Challenge, but also Zoom and hosting and all that other kind of stuff that we use to keep the show running. So a huge thank you to Lee Howard, Mikhail KV, Natolinator, Mad Lefty, Admiral Awesome, Happy Moogles, Kung Fu Skills, Hack and Pone, Cavalier07, Old Mate Clown, Mark B, and McLovin Legend. We literally could not afford to do the show without you guys, so thank you very much. We also have our Discord, but it'll be on screen. Otherwise, you can find it in you should be able to find it in the description of each episode. It should be auto-populated. I would normally read it out, but we've had to change it due to the I/O issue. So just click on it from there or copy and paste it. We want to try. We love having our community. The Discord is the place to find us and hang out with us. Ask questions, ship post memes, get in the Word Challenge, that kind of stuff. And of course, we do the show live every week at varying times, depending on who our guests are. But Twitch is Xbox Hall of Gamers. Come say hi, hang out in the chat, like PV and like Isaac. And occasionally Bulbasaur and a few others. Come say hi, ask questions, respond. We love the community engagement. And that's going to bring us to the end of the show. Let's do our shelling. Char, have you got anything you want to talk about?
Well, at the moment, I'm not currently streaming. I occasionally post on Instagram. I'm sort of just taking a temporary hiatus for indefinite time frame. But if you do want to find me, it's under Charmandosaurus_Rex or AudreyChar on Xbox and the Char with many names on Discord.
Amazing. All right, Jake, what about you? You shielded a little bit up front, but let's close the loop.
Yeah, I also used to stream, and the thought of streaming is forever in my mind, but life gets in the way. But if you would like to give me a follow on Twitch, you're more than welcome to at twitch.tv/justjakesd if I ever go live again. For the most part, though, you can just find me hanging around Achievement Hunters Anonymous, the Discord. There's links somewhere. I'm pretty sure there's links in Hog because we're tight like that. And I got links for them. And if you join Achievement Hunters Anonymous, there's a good chance that if you play Where's Reptar, the Witness might actually be an answer.
Oh my god, that would be the perfect one. Yeah.
So
that would be pretty funny.
Yeah, come join, come play Where's Reptar. It's everyone's obsession with the server right now. No one cares about anything else like Book or any of the other events. It's all Where's Reptar every day, all day. It's fun. I have a good time with it. But we also do a book club. I always talk about wanting to do more events, and we probably will one day once my life settles down a little bit and once my number two's life settles a bit more as well. Not my romantic number two, like my Discord admin number two. But yeah, that's where you can find me. And my gamer tag on Xbox is Reptarnice 3000. If you would like to give me an ad, feel free.
Fantastic. And as always, I'm Neomaster on everything True Achievements, Xbox, and Discord. If for whatever reason you want to get in contact with me, I still take submissions like, hey, if you guys got codes you want us to put for the word challenge or anything like that, let us know. Or if you want to do competitions, or if you have ideas for Song of the Week. I know I put the Song of the Week on hiatus, but it will be coming back every now and then when I come up with a good idea. I just didn't want to force it because I felt like we were getting the quality level was kind of dipping as I was kind of having to do it each week. But if you have ideas, like Bulbasaur sent in one for Great Balls of Fire a few weeks back, that was fantastic.
That was a really good one.
Yeah, I love the suggestions. So feel free to send them in. They don't have to be complete suggestions. I love, if we want to work together on something, workshop it.
Even just a song suggestion is fine.
Exactly. Yeah,
we can work on it from there. So
absolutely. But yeah, that's gonna be episode 91. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Char and Jake for guesting and being great people as always.
Anytime.
And we will catch you guys next week. See you later.
Bye.